This week on Lead One, Phil in the Leaders Cup.
Welcome to the Lead One podcast, where our mission is to lead leaders through leadership. The goal is to get 1% better every day. Let's see what Drew and the guys have to say.
All right, guys, welcome back. Let's get 1% better today. I've got Brandon, France, and Sam Buck.
What up?
Yo, Sam always says something after you say that. So
I feel like I have to.
Yeah.
Gotta hit him with the what up. The fadeaway.
This week we're talking about investing in ourselves as a leader. You know, it's hard to pour into someone else if your cup is empty. Part of what sparked this was this week, Brandon and Sam dedicated most of their week, in fact, to their self-development at one of our leadership academies at our corporate office. And it kind of got us talking in line of this topic this morning. And so I'm going to let you guys tell us kind of your thoughts, experiences, and the importance of, you know, what you got out of this week.
For me, it's really about you can't drive without gas, you know. And the reality is, a lot of times in leadership, we're trying to take people to somewhere. And, if we're trying to put a bunch of people in our car and lead them to a place, and we don't have any gas in the car, we're really not going to go too far. And the more gas you have and the more ability you have to refill your tank, the better off you're going to be and the longer you can drive. So I look at literally kind of what we went to here at our corporate office as putting gas in the car. And I think for me, it was much needed because, when you think you know everything, you know nothing. You ever get to a place where you feel like you've learned it all, you don't know probably 30% of what you think you do. So I'm always eager to learn more,
Yeah, and for me, it was, just needed. You know what I mean? It was needed for you to just get reignited. You know what I mean? Sometimes we get into, our day-to-days and
Get complacent,
and then you need some fire lit. It's always good to, go through one of those events where they have the leaders of whatever industry you're in, just, basically telling you you can do it, and that's what it was for me too. It was a lot of tactical things that I picked up also, but yeah, mainly it was just igniting that fire back up. Did you ever been to? Have you ever been to a convention or stuff like that?
I have. I've been to a few. Nothing recently, but
that's been the problem with recently.
Yeah.
Obviously, they
right.
haven't been happening.
They haven't been happening because of COVID. So literally, probably the better half of 2 years. But that is so true because what I've learned over time is you become empty. And like you said, Sam, you're just kind of driving on fumes because you just want to get to the end no matter what. But you never take time to stop and refill your tank. And that refilling your tank could be spiritual or, it could be something where it's just motivational. Whatever that is and whatever that looks like, I can speak for myself and say that I always put myself last when it comes to that because I'm so busy making sure that the family's okay, the job is doing what it's supposed to do. Am I putting 110% into, the job to make sure that, I'm delivering on what I said I was going to deliver on, and then I put myself last. Even down to I think about buying vitamins, like something as simplistic as buying vitamins. You look at it, oh, well, that's 50, 60, $100. I could be buying a marketing tool with that money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that type of mindset. And so it's more of just you putting yourself last and everything above, in front of you. And I'm guilty of that, and I need to learn to be better with that.
So why do we think that if you are struggling with that as a leader, I mean, why is that? Or why do some leaders struggle with maybe pouring back into themselves?
I think, I guess you got 5 girls, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy, you think, to completely focus on everything they need.
Yeah, because you'll get burnt out. You get burnt out. You get physically, mentally, spiritually tired. And you just need to recharge.
Because it's not going to stop them from looking at you as still being their father, right? So I look at it like, as parents or whatever our leadership roles are, like, if we don't find a way, like, for instance, you said COVID, right? It's been what, man, it's really been almost 2 years.
Yeah.
I think now we live in an age where we have social media, we have YouTube, we have access to things that we may not have had access to before. I think in years previous, I think mentorship was very important, right? A lot of times, it still is.
Yeah.
It still is. But now, when you say, let's just say for the sake of argument, you just don't feel like you found that one person. You could just Google. You could just YouTube a speech, or
Right.
just the Eric Thomas of the world. The what's my guy's name? Sabri Sobi.
Yeah.
He's really good at it. You got Grant Cardones. You got a lot of people who've created a space of motivation. You know what I mean, and leadership. And so it was really no excuse, But at the same time, it's really for your betterment. Because if you get empty,
well, even like tactical. When you go to those events of any industry that you're working in, you could find out if you were doing something. You could find out if there's a better way of doing something. And I think those things are just as important than the motivation and the fire and all the other things that comes with that convention. For me, I was just finding out that I could be doing more with less brain power. If I was just doing it a certain way.
Sure, working smarter.
Yeah.
I think the bottom line is it takes discipline to, I think sometimes in a leadership role, maybe in regards to your work, it's easy to be focused in that environment. But when you walk out of that door, I know I'm guilty of, I got a longer commute, close to an hour, sometimes where I know I ought to listen to that podcast. I ought to invest in myself, but sometimes you just turn the radio on because you just want to listen to some mindless music. One of the things that I think helped me the most, I was right out of college, and my mother-in-law is in leadership, and she got me a coach. And of course, with working with most coaches' self-development, you're going to take a personality assessment, which I had never done anything like that before. And I can't remember exactly how long we worked together. It was several weeks, if not months. And basically what it taught me was who I was, what my natural reactions to things are, how I'm going to respond. And I think as leaders, you have to identify who you are first before you can possibly help someone else. But that course, took money, and it took a lot of time on my end. So regardless of what you're doing, whether it's listening to a podcast, reading a book, going as far as hiring a coach to help develop you, it takes time.
Sometimes when you leave those events, you don't do anything that you learned, or that
follow through.
The follow through. How are we keeping?
Kind of like a New Year's resolution.
Yeah, right. I think
I just wanted to ask you guys, like, what are some tips on following through with what you learned from a convention or something that lit you fire?
I'll say this real quick. I think it's just not focusing on everything. Choose a few things. You focus on those few things that you feel like immediately could help you, and you get better at them. I think it's Eric Thomas who says he reads a chapter of a book over and over and over again to retain it before he kind of moves to the next chapter. Speaking of motivation and good stuff, he's a great person. If you guys have not ever tuned into Eric Thomas, please tune into him.
Spoke at our convention a couple years ago.
Oh, awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, it was nice.
And outside of Eric Thomas, please continue to tune into Lead One Podcast. But other than that, like, just take a few things and just continue to better those few things. Because I think just like with people that we lead, sometimes we give them a lot of, or sometimes we give them too much information at one time.
Get overwhelming.
It can get overwhelming trying to spread yourself. Okay, I need to do this. I need to do this. I heard this. I want to try this. But you're not really accomplishing anything, and then you forget everything. You know what I mean? So
I guess just to piggyback from what you're saying, pick top 5 things that stuck out, that resonated with you the most, and then just try to focus on that.
I think if you set, realistic and attainable goals, for me, a couple months ago, I just decided I was going to make a commitment that pretty much every morning on the drive in, I was going to listen to something that helped develop me or was going to make me better. I already had the drive time, right? I mean, so this didn't take any more effort or energy out of me, except for maybe it wasn't as relaxing as listening to music coming in. And so I think that's one real small step that you can do to implement something, to invest in yourself, that doesn't take time away from anything else you would have otherwise been doing.
So let me ask y'all this then. I know we're talking about what we need to do, but how do we do it? Like, what are some of the things you guys do to fill your cup outside of just a conference or things like that, from a daily perspective? Because I think it's a continuous action. Sure. Right. I know you say you've committed to doing something in the car. Like, what are your things, Frank?
For me, as of late, I would say I just started this in maybe the last 2 or 3 weeks, where I go on Google, YouTube, and look for the Grant Cardones, and they're quick 3 to 5 minute clips of them having some motivational words, and I try to make that either the last thing I listen to before I go to sleep, or the first thing I listen to when I get up in the morning. So I've been trying to implement that regiment, because I feel like that's just a little bit of gasoline that's poured in my tank. So when I come in, I feel a little, just a little more pep in my step. And like I said, I'm guilty of it, and I'm sure plenty of people out there in the world are guilty of it. Drew and I we were having this conversation just the other day about this particular topic, and I remember I was saying to him, prior to moving to Georgia, I was living in New York, and every free opportunity that I had outside of work, I was running down to Florida dealing with my parents, the elderly. Dad passed away, obviously, God rest his soul, but I was dealing with him. So when I leave these 4 doors and I hop on a plane, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going on vacation. You're going to go do another job. So I realized that over the years, between children, Brandon, and parents, as they're getting older, we all have that responsibility to them, because over time they just let things go, and it's up to us to keep them on track. Between that and the children, we're pretty, and in our careers, we're spread pretty thin. And it's not till the wife says, honey, it's time to go on vacation, and we go kicking and screaming, right? Because we're just thinking about how much money we're not going to make, or how much time we're losing from the job. We never think about it as, okay, this is time for me now to pour into myself. It usually takes about day 2 or day 3 into vacation when you finally start to relax, with the hopes of your cell phone not working. Because if it works, you're working.
Yeah, true. Well, for me is systems. You know what I mean? Just systems, trying to eliminate how much you're thinking about, ironing your clothes weekly or something like that. Just getting your clothes set out weekly, so you don't have to think about that little thing. You know what I mean? Having a routine when you get up and you go do your things in the bathroom, or you know what I mean. But it's like having systems in place stops you from using all that brain power that you're using when you're just thinking and trying to figure stuff out.
I mean, you're onto something there, Brandon, because there's a reason that why Steve Jobs wore the same clothes every single day, is because he just decided I'm not going to use any brain power to get up in the morning and decide what I'm going to wear. I think we've all been in that boat where you walk into your closet and you stand there for 5 minutes trying to figure out what you're going to put on, and those are sometimes decisions that don't, whether you make them in advance. The speaker I was listening to talking about this topic said anytime he has a speech or a speaking engagement, he picks his outfit out the night before and lays it out. So that's one less thing that he has to even waste brain power on that day. So automating as much of those types of simple, I guess is how you would classify them, simple type decisions allows more brain power for the more complex items.
So I guess to that, is it to the routine conversation, to filling your cup question, is it more beneficial for us, I guess is the question for the board, is it more beneficial for us to create a specialized time and stick to it? Like I know some people, right, they'll drive their car until they run out of gas and then fill it up. I might be one of them, right? But there are people who say, "Oh, every Friday when I'm on my way home."
To y'all on
exactly, exactly. So when there may be one of those people who say, "Hey, every Friday I'm getting gas." You know what I mean? No matter where my tank is, I'm refilling it. Now, from a leadership standpoint, how important is it to have a system to do that, or should we be waiting until we?
I definitely don't think that we should be waiting.
I don't either.
We do.
We do, unfortunately.
We say what you're saying, obviously, which is the right thing to do. But
I'm just saying, if you set routines daily that has self-development in them, just like riding to work and having a podcast plan, then you're making sure you pour into yourself.
Yeah, and to your point, I think it's important that you have smart systems in place, because if you stop for gas every morning and put a gallon and a half in, I mean, think about all the time you took doing it. Right, so it's you could have a system in place, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best one.
And I think also you should recognize what it is, what type of gas you need, right? Every car needs a different type. It doesn't run on the same efficiency with every gas. So I think as a leader, you have to be cognizant of what is the best tool for you. Like, just because something works for Drew or Franz or Brandon doesn't mean it worked for Sam. So at the end of the day, what is it that motivates you the most? What is it that you draw from the most? So, for some people, it's their faith, right? For some people, it's that motivation to keep going. For some people, it's systems, processes. Some people, it's skills based on their industry. You got to find what it is for you.
Yeah, that's true, because I don't listen to like skill podcasts at all. If I'm reading a book, it's about spiritual. It's a spiritual book. You know what I mean? It's about filling my spirit. And like the skillful things is stuff I don't implement like as a routine for some reason, but I may need to.
Yeah, I mean, if it worked, it may work. I think there are certain parts of us that all need to get filled, but we got to know what parts they are and prioritize them.
Well, I think you got to look at it as mind, body, spirit.
Exactly.
Right, and I think that's when you talk about pouring into yourself, it may be taking care of yourself physically. I mean, how can you be the best for the people that you're leading if you're not taking care of yourself? The reality is whatever you're trying to accomplish all comes to a screeching halt if your health does, right? Yeah. So I think you can look at it from a multitude of angles.
Mm-hmm. And we ate barbecue today too.
I got the banana pudding.
That's real. That barbecue was good though. Hey, so would it be safe to say that we will challenge our listeners at this point to really look at creating a system for themselves?
You know what I would really like? I would like our listeners to leave some comments on what they do as far as filling themselves to help motivate us. Because at the end of the day, leaders need leaders too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody learns from somebody. So, hey, you guys out there, tell us what you do. We could try implementing some of that as well.
So let's talk about maybe something that you're doing right now that you feel like maybe something you're reading, something you're listening to, and let's share whatever that nugget is you have with the listeners.
For me, I'm actually reading a skill book actually right now. Which is crazy. Well, I'm reading this book called The Compound Effect, and it's basically a book about habits and how you can just implement one small thing, and watch it compound, like compound interest. It's a very good book. I can't think of the author right now, but the name of the book is called The Compound Effect.
Okay.
I'm reading a couple books, rereading actually, because I kind of got to think I got to read it more than once. One is a classic book, 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. I think anyone who is in an environment, a multitude of people, it's a great book to just understand. Not that you want to just take control of anything, but you need to understand some of those laws. It helps you maneuver in rooms. And then also, it's a book by Mark Manson called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a
Yeah, that's a good book too.
Yeah, it's a really good book. It is not necessarily about not caring. It's about perspective.
It's really about what, just what to care about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just as a teaser, people looking, you read these self-help books and they tell you, look in the mirror and tell yourself that you're amazing. You're amazing. You're amazing. And saying that is almost like calling Candyman, because at the end of the day, you really don't believe you're amazing. So you're trying to convince yourself that you're amazing. You know what I mean? It's like it sometimes have the adverse effect. Instead of doing that, just do things to continue that action. To build your confidence, opposed to just looking in the mirror and saying, "I'm amazing. I'm amazing. I'm amazing," and you really don't believe it. You know what I mean? So it's more about perspective, and believe it or not, there's a lot of faith talk in there that he don't even realize he's talking about.
I think you realize it. You got to the end of that book already?
Yeah, once, twice.
Okay, yeah.
Funny, I have that book sitting on my bookcase now for probably about 2 years, and I've never read it.
These are like my books.
I think the missus read it, and it's actually her book, and I've seen her read it.
Read it.
Now that you brought it up, I am going to read it.
And the Mamba Mentality, Kobe.
Of course.
Amazing book.
So what I'm not doing is reading. I should be doing a better job of that, but good Lord, I don't like it. But I'll listen to just about anything. So I'll share two podcasts that I have that have become a favorite of mine. One is the Andy Stanley Leadership Podcast. The only downside to that one is obvious. So Andy's a pastor, for those of you that don't know, of actually a local church for us here in Atlanta. But the Leadership Podcast is only once a month, and it's solid. But there's a lot of episodes you can go back and listen, but he's not releasing enough content from that standpoint that's going to give you something to listen to every single week. But I discovered another guy by the name of Kerry Newhoff, who is, ironically enough, also a pastor. I didn't realize that. So maybe I'm connecting my mind and spirit, I don't know, on those two things. And neither one of these podcasts have anything to do with religion, but Kerry's episodes are much longer, and in fact, probably an hour to hour and a half plus. I've got a long commute, so it works for me. But normally that's longer than something I would listen to, but I highly recommend it. I've thoroughly enjoyed every episode that I've listened to. And the other recommendation that I have, and I don't always live up to do the best job of this, but incorporating some type of physical workout into your routine, whether that be daily, and to kind of Francis' point earlier, is starting your day with something like that. Something healthy. I mean, whether you're listening to something, working out, whatever it is, but the reality is we all have the same amount of time in the day.
Some of the people at the office don't want to get sweaty. so they let that stop them from getting in shape.
I'm just gonna tell you, I don't like to get sweaty at lunchtime. So that's in the morning. I can't do what you and Brent did at lunch.
So I guess that's a good excuse.
I'd rather do it in the morning.
Oh, I'm 3+. I'm gonna sweat more than y'all. For now,
winter workout type of guy.
He only work out in December.
Yeah, October. This is my month.
January 1.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, guys. Hope you got something out of this episode today. We are looking forward to joining you back week after next. I'll be doing a little bit of investing in myself. I'll be out of town next week for an owners meeting, so we look forward to speaking with you again the week following.
If you got 1% of value from this podcast, do us a favor. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Tell your friend, tell your coworker. Until we meet again. Lead one.